Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody here and at home. Indeed, this is perhaps not your most usual talk at a conference, although the talk is actually split in two parts, and the second part will be perhaps a bit more familiar to many of you, given that I will talk about formal methods and how one can use formal methods to look at security ceremonies. But before we get to that second part, I have a lot to say about the first part, which will explain actually the title. Now, the talk that I have prepared is very long, much more than 1 hour, and there was a chair for the next session. I promise I'll be on time. But depending on how quick we are, also depending on how interactive you want it to be, I'm very, very happy for you to interrupt me with questions if you have any, or we have questions at the end. I might be able to show more or maybe a bit less. Now, the reason why we are all here is because security is difficult. If security was easy, we wouldn't have a conference, right? We would be somewhere by Espresso Tejo having an aperitif in anticipation of the dinner this evening and enjoying Lisbon. Now, what I mean with security is difficult is that it's not just, as we know, an undecidable problem. Right? And it is an undecidable problem, especially if you consider the presence of an attacker, because the attacker will always be able to do something else. So no tool that you will write will be guaranteed to terminate, because there is always something else that the attacker can do. But it is a difficult problem because in general, security, and however you want to formalize security, however you want to define security, so it could be information, security of information, of data, of processes, of systems. Yesterday we heard the talk about IoT and trusted computing bases and everything. It is a challenging problem. So in a sense, it is difficult to achieve. It is difficult to reason about, and I've highlighted reason about because this is what I want to focus on in this talk. It is difficult to apply, to understand in many cases. I've been in some of the talks here and I marvel at the research that people do, and I don't necessarily understand what they're doing, so it will require a bit of work for me to understand. It's also difficult to teach. In a nutshell, it is difficult to explain. And that is why a few years ago, together with Daniele Magazzini, who is a colleague of mine, was a colleague of mine at King's, he has now moved to the dark side. He's working for JP Morgan, and he's earning gazillions of money leading the work that JP Morgan does on explainable AI. Actually, he's doing fantastic work there because he's bringing formal methods inside banking and financing and trading and leading the work on explainable AI. So together with